can say either. As much as my idiot brother and my. We'll figure it out. All right, good morning, everybody. It is 9 o'clock and welcome to the Tillamook County Housing Commission meeting. And we have a very full agenda today. We are having 8 presentations for our housing production solution fund. I think I got that right this time. All right. So first off today, we're going to have welcomes and introductions. And I'm going to start with Parker this morning.
Okay, well, my name is Parker Salmons, and I am the Tillamook County Housing Coordinator, and this is my 3rd Housing Production Solutions Fund cycle.
Elizabeth Riverman, Property Specialist with Community Development, and this is my first housing production.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Corinne Karlovic. I'm the project manager for the Houseless Action Network at CARE Inc. And I'm a commissioner here and representing nonprofits.
And I'm Gail Uzell. I'm an at-large member in South County, and I'm really excited.
I'm Dave Bennett from South County.
Mary Smith, Commissioner and Executive Director for Habitat for Humanity.
Harry Fleischer, Chair of the Housing Commission and member at large.
Mark Kester, North County Commissioner and Vice Chair.
Sarah Dental, Member at Large and Representative of the real estate community.
Chris Wilkes, local contractor, Housing Commission and Development Committee.
Michelle Yank, brought on for, as a representative for large employers, representing population health improvement.
Good morning, I'm Sarah Apsher, I'm the Director of Community Development.
I'm Nan Devlin. I propose, I'm now the all. Commissioner of all,
We
right?
still made it.
Member at large, yes, thank you.
Great. And I do see a few housing commissioners on the web. See Megan out there.
Good morning, Megan Carpenter, City of Tillamook, representative.
Is there anybody else on the commission online? Do you see anybody else?
Kristen's
All right, and then I'm gonna, Kristen.
Kristen Fathian, at large, Housing Commission. Hi.
Great. And so just because we have such a full agenda, I think we're not gonna introduce everybody, our guests in the room, so that they'll have an opportunity so we can get this going. So Mark, I'm gonna pass it over to you for public comment.
Okay, so if anyone in the room or around want to offer public comment about anything. And online, they can hear us, of course, right? So. I guess we can move on.
Parker, if you would like to
Yeah, I'd like to
Introduce
kick-
us.
I'd like to kick off, just by, I sent this, an email to this effect to the Housing Commission, but I just wanted to read a bit of it, just remind everybody that, this is a really big day. This is the culmination of a lot of work for a lot of people, for us, the for the applicants, and this is our traditional. It happens once, only once, but the TV comes off for a moment. If anyone's online, just
It's still going.
it's still going, the TV just sort of needs to reset occasionally. But it is a big day for us and
And we're at the mercy of
and
technology.
still is a thing.
But it's not.
Yes.
Hammer in my truck. Wait a moment.
Yeah.
Yes, the button.
So you should be okay. My teenager just.
It's HDMI 4, it's on 2 right now.
Internet.
While Elizabeth sorts that out, I will continue my small spiel. Just remember to demonstrate respect to our presenters. Even if you're online or in the room, this means maintaining your focus, keeping your camera on, please, if you're online during the presentations, if you're a housing commissioner. Remember that our presenters come from various backgrounds. We have very large developers and very small developers presenting to us. And just to treat everybody with the same level of respect and care and welcomingness that I know that this commission has always represented. So thank you. And with that, I would like to introduce Ralph and Lisa McCrae.
Parker, can you give us some guidance on the evaluation?
Thank you. Yes. As you guys may recall, during our last framework meeting, when we kind of outlined this 2026 cycle, we had moved from a point-based scoring system to a criteria-based scoring system. What you'll find in your packets on the first page is a project summary that has application details from the applicants. It has information about their affordability requirements, and it also has AMI levels and time. A brief description of the property is on the second page, along with any important notes that have been added that might not have been captured in the application that staff felt was relevant. After that, you'll find the finance committee's evaluation, where they went through a set of criteria and evaluated the financials of each project for them. And then finally, you will find your evaluation. And during the meeting, it is your job to take notes on the criteria found in the Housing Commissioner evaluation section. Those will guide our discussions at the allocation meeting in March. So please fill them out carefully and keep those notes. And that is the system that we designed this last year. So take careful notes, be thoughtful, ask good questions in the time that you have. Be mindful that we do have a tight schedule today. Each presenter has about, our goal was a 10 to 15 minute presentation with 10 to 15 minutes of questions after. The agenda will guide our timelines for the day, and it's clearly laid out. We'll have a break around a little after 11 for lunch, where pizza will be provided. And there are refreshments in the back, water. There will be some seltzer water out as well. There's some fruit, and we'll kind of keep stuff flowing out there through the day. If anyone at any time has any questions about process, please raise your hand and ask me, or come over and talk to me in between presentations if there's anything that's confusing. Otherwise, I think let's give everybody just a few minutes to get familiar with the document, and we'll begin in a moment. There.
Are these notes for me or are they for?
They are for you, but we will ask the commissioners to share some of their lowlights of each project. We will collate that for our allocation meeting.
Perfect, okay.
So make sure you just clearly have your big main points and be ready to share them. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But, well, unless, I'm gonna give everybody just a few minutes to prepare, for our first presentation and set up your notes however you'd like. Right, unless there's anybody who's not quite ready. We will begin by introducing Ralph and Lisa McCray. Their project is Alder Ridge. It's in Bay City. It's a multifamily, mixed unit, mixed housing type, mixed income project. The request is for $120,000. They have received Housing Production Solutions funds in the past at the previous cycle in the amount of $25,000. And Ralph, when you are ready, I will bring your presentation up.
I don't know that I'm ready.
Right.
And thanks, everybody. I guess sort of like Parker was introducing himself, I think we've been to 5 or 6 meetings in total, and this is our second solutions meeting. So anyways, we'll keep working at that. First off, want to say that in this presentation, I think we're fine with it being more of an open presentation. You don't have to wait. If you have a question, bring it up. We don't have a lot of slides to go through, so and I think everybody is somewhat familiar with what we're looking at doing. Multi. Quick background, we're looking at developing property that our family bought way back in the 50s to start a business. Business has obviously changed, and what do? And, we're not looking at coming in, smashing everything down and putting something else up. We want to transform it. We want the whole property and the whole community to grow, continue to grow. Our goals, I think we keep coming back to, community, creativity and opportunity. And those are like the core principles that we keep coming back to. Kind of lined it out here with a community within a community. We're in the south end of Bay City. It's always been the Handle plant, but there's the whole of Bay City with a great opportunity to connect. And kind of the idea on our property is to have a commercial, hopefully manufacturing, somewhat art, bringing in diverse mindsets, thought processes, businesses that can connect with in a way that people can actually walk to work. That's part of how I grew up. I was able to, as a kid, play up there, had my grandparents around, but also able to walk to work as I grew up. It's a great way to live. You don't have to drive 2 hours, and you get to meet a lot of great people that inspire what's next. Other thing in community is we want it to be sustainable. It's housing should be for the long term. That's what we're looking at. We're looking at housing as well as commerce being that way. and multi-generational. Like I said, you know, being able to have your grandparents, that's not something everybody can do, but people of different ages can help each other. And then innovation, you know, that's, we'd like to apply as much of that to how it, you know, how we build this, but also inspire it. So once it's built, that is still part of what is going on. So, you know, part of that is the possibility of bringing trades education into some of the facility. And, you know, keeping to develop technology. Even if the TV shut off every once in a while, technology is amazing. You know, how do we instill that in the Tillamook County area? There's just so many opportunities for that. Okay, what's that? Okay, so a quick outline of the property. It's roughly a 10-acre site. And again, roughly about 3 acres is what we're looking at. On the western side, essentially, of being a location for housing. We're looking at maintaining the two big industrial spaces for different uses. We're looking at possibly a community kitchen, commissary. And if we can have actually housing production in any form, put in here cabinet shop or wall panelizing or whatever, we're still seeking that, that possibility. Again, South Bay City. That worked. We had a community engagement meeting, sponsored by Oregon DDQ's Built Environment Group, in the summer. These were the 5 top topics that came out, which we were really happy to see really aligned with kind of where we were going in the first place. Connecting with nature and design was actually the very first thing that people said they didn't want. Smash everything, put up high rises. Again, promotes well-being. You know, it's a place for all ages and abilities. That was them, not us. That was super good. Supports the environment and feels safe and secure. Again, we're back to the community. What does the community bring? Did you have any input on? Yeah, okay. Bragging. There we go. And so out of that, this was kind of the conceptual, the preferred option that we came up with. That is, it's as much as possible, we're looking to follow the DEQ's low embodied carbon build structure. So it's smaller housing. So we've got down here, we've got houses and ADUs. So roughly 1,200 square foot houses with detached ADUs is the current design model. An apartment building close to Williams Street, 2 townhouses, and then a cottage cluster. Yep, we're looking at utilizing specifically up here, outdoor space. It's I don't even think it's considered a seasonal creek, but a seasonal stream. But there's a waterway that I played in as a kid that TEP has come in and planted more natives, so it's no longer blackberries. But utilizing that as a place for kids to play, grow, learn. You know, if we could have education opportunities there, that would be fantastic. I think that.
I think the other thing that I would like to mention would be the single family homes with the ADUs. Those were set up so that it could be aging in place potentially. It could be so the ADUs could be utilized for elderly parents. And so the younger family can live in the home and elderly parents can be in the ADU. We're looking at about 400 square feet for that ADU. And it could be in the reverse, which is, you know, kids are going to college, so the parents can live in the house and the kids can, or the students, if, you know, staying there, they can actually live in the ADU. And then the other possibility is that they can rent out the ADU to help them facilitate the costs of housing. So there's multiple options available on that, and we wanted to bring that forward. The architect was really great about
hearing what we were saying, we're trying to, our intent is to make this multi-generational because we feel that that creates a stronger, more vital community. So that's why we have the ADUs with the smaller homes. The cottage cluster up on the top, what we're aiming for there would be, retired folks, you know, that they don't need to have a 2,000 square foot house. They can actually have a cottage that's affordable and, there's also a community garden that's intended for, just north of the cottage cluster there. So what we wanted to do is be able to meet a number of needs in the housing itself. So.
And would these be sold, as like partitioned and sold?
Yes, correct. Yeah, currently, we admit we're a little odd from what I think you guys tend to see, but the apartment would be the main focus on rental space. Everything else is kind of, we're aiming to build to sell, you know, so that long-term, that would be somebody else's property.
Yeah, and so we still have the, that's our next step would be the platting, doing all the groundwork. That's where we're at. We're at that point right now where, we have had our survey done. We need to have our next survey completed, which is, it blows my mind. We have to have two, but we do, and they're very expensive. And so we need to have that completed because they need to confirm that the monument is in the right spot. Okay, anyway, so that's the next spot and the next step in this, and then start platting and bringing in the city water sewer, and we do have that currently on the industrial property. So it'll be where is that going to come from out of Williams Street? And so we have some ideas where these things are, but we need to be able to move forward and get that actually documented.
So my question, so the apartment buildings and the cottage clusters, are you guys planning on keeping those as rentals? Or are you gonna try to sell the cottages
I
also?
think selling them is the leading candidate at this point. Yeah, yeah.
So thinking like long-term within kind of that maintaining of a sense of community, with the intention to sell some of those, do you guys have thoughts on like how you maintain that? Is that like you record some CCNRs, you do an HOA, any of those type of things to kind of build that community for the long term?
Is it fair to say we're not quite?
We would prefer not to have to put level of restrictions on this. I hear what you're saying, and I do, you know, we haven't made a big decision about that at this stage, and I think, because of what we're trying to create, and it's a big project, but it will be what happens when we first roll out, right?
Yeah.
If we see that there's a need as we go along, the apartment building will probably we'll probably end up having to do phases just because of cost, right? But for the most part, what we're looking for is folks who want to buy, who want to stay here, who are committed to the community.
Okay.
And generally speaking, we've had an opportunity to tour a number of places like that, and you don't see a whole lot of people not taking care of their property. You just don't see it because when they're engaged with one another, they want to support one another in what they're doing, meaning if they have this home and, you know, somebody's got to run down home, those folks are going to work together to fix those things. So the answer to your question is currently we don't have a plan for doing a CCNR. We kind of need to move forward to really understand our client.
Yeah, aiming for the design itself to draw that level of sustainability.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question.
Sure.
On the ADUs and the small houses,
Yes.
it looks like the small houses have like a full-in driveway in the front. But the ADUs, it doesn't look like they have any kind of street access.
Actually, these are parking spots here.
Off street.
Okay.
Off street, off of Williams, so that,
And then there would be sidewalks or approaches to
Mhm.
get around, in the scenario that, you know, you have separate
Yes.
families or something living in the back.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so currently in this design, the ADUs are in the back. And we talked to the city about this. We weren't quite sure. We actually wanted to flip it. But they said that it needs to be the backyard. So I think, so that the houses will be in the front and, we will probably swing the garage or carport over to that right off of the street. But they will have places where if they have visitors, that they'll be able to park on the street. That's the idea behind it. And then with the ADUs, there's also, Ralph, you want to show them the road or the alleyway up above?
This one?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's more of a, currently a walking path, but there's room for parking on that side of the,
And then the three up on top will have the garage underneath. Those will be market rate. Because it's a beautiful view. It overlooks the bay. And so those homes will be more of a market rate, but they also are intended to have an ADU as well. Did we answer your question? I kind of felt like I was going around a little bit.
that's Mark, I think you were first.
Can we assume, ADUs will not be, short-term rentals?
Correct.
Is that part of
That's
it?
correct.
Yes.
We will be putting that in because we don't want that to be part of, there's so many, we wanted to be able to provide as many options with their home
Yeah.
that could help them, financially, but short-term vacation rentals is not going to
Doesn't
be
solve
it.
the problem. And Bay City currently has code that only one, but
Gotcha.
one right now is too many, so.
Yeah, you have to be 200 feet away from another short-term vacation rental.
Did I understand it to say that most of these will be for sale? Most of these units will be?
I think that's most
So
likely.
you're a developer getting ready to sell these units. How does that relate to the affordability restrictions? 60%, 61, 80% EMI and so on?
Yeah.
Will you have any restrictions then over someone who buys a property that they need to be at certain AMI levels or what's the relationship there?
Good question.
So our intention on this is that we will have set asides. I think we've given you the numbers of what we're going to do. The vast majority of our project is going to be between the 80 and 120. The 60 is just unless we're in the rental space. So we can do in the apartment. That for us is where we would be doing the 60%.
I'll just add, in terms of how we find an affordable sales price, there is an established formula to do that. But for the purposes of this, you can just assume that they will be serving families in that area median income bracket.
Once they're sold, the new owner can jack up the price.
Which is right away, right?
So
Sometimes there can actually be covenants that can make
That's where I
it
think
more
you do
potentially
have to
affordable
consider
for
it.
you.
I think that's where I was going with
Yeah.
the CC&R conversation, like something to protect what you're building now for
Right.
generations to come.
Right, okay.
long-term on this project, what, if any of it, do you guys plan on maintaining ownership of?
None.
Yeah, I think all of it's on the table.
Yeah.
It's like, we're not gonna be here forever and acknowledge that, so. Okay. 10 minutes ago.
10 minutes ago.
Oh my gosh, ever now. So looking forward, again, I think Lisa mentioned, we are so grateful for what we received last year. Being able to get surveys done, tree clearing, all that kind of stuff. And we're gonna continue, we have to continue with that. So getting the land entitlements figured out, actually coming down on, landing on the housing design and building methodology. And the people that we've talked to as far as being partners, they affect each other. So we're still trying to come up with what's the most efficient and effective way to build what we're trying to build. I think the big expenses that we're seeing coming up are gonna be in that infrastructure layout. So the civil engineering's out there, like Lisa said, the additional surveys, the topographical, and how we're gonna lay this out, and connect to the city. And then, partner selection, we're still trying to find finance partners, the actual development partners, if it's a stick-built home or if it's a volumetric module build or flat pack. Those each have effects on how we're gonna be able to put this together.
Ralph and I spent almost the entirety of last year going and visiting, well, we went to the, Mass Timber Conference in Portland last year. It was fascinating. What they're doing, you know, in other countries. So we got this global picture. And then we had the opportunity to visit with, modular. And when I'm talking modular, I'm not talking manufactured homes, I'm talking modular homes. So, we've had that opportunity. We've looked at building mass timber product home. Again, this kind of goes back to the low carbon emission. We're looking for the future. So we're wanting to be able to lead to the future for folks and see what that would be. And we've also looked at flat packs, like Ralph was saying, a flat pack is essentially they go in and they cut the wood to all the sizes that it's supposed to be. And then you just put it together. I'm going to say a Lego kit, but it's not quite that. So we have been looking at all different types of opportunities that would fit here in Tillamook County and be good moving forward for others to replicate. Commissioner.
I had a dog emergency.
Uh-oh.
So again, this is just kind of a quick overview of the plan details. You know, we're looking at essentially the way that's drawn out, it'd be 58 units. Again, most of the houses in the 1,250 square foot range, townhouses, similar, ADU, 450 or so. Sequence, again, we see this isn't gonna be something we'll be able to smash out all at once. So it's, you know, the houses and ADUs and the apartments are kind of neck and neck on what's the right first phase. And then go into the cottages. And again, the second two are also fairly interchangeable at this time horizon. Whether we go with the homes or upgrade community commercial, depending on what's needed. And then we're hopefully wrapping up before the 5 minutes are done. But again, thanks to you guys, thanks to Oregon DQ's Built Environment team. We didn't get them up here on this one, but Tillamook, the TDP, they've been awesome, and we look forward to them as being a partner and helping us here as well. City of Bay City and everybody else that's participated, put in comments, thoughts. The community engagement was spectacular. So our neighbors has been really good. So, you know, thanks to everybody that helped us refine where we're at now and making this dream that much more possible. Yeah.
Sorry, so just real quick, if you're gonna try to sell to low-income folks and provide low-income housing, traditional funding won't work. It won't pencil. So Parker knows more about this than I do, but before you spend a lot of time in infrastructure design and development and so on, you need to figure out where that funding is going to come from.
Okay.
Because there may be some requirements of that funding that won't necessarily fit with what you come up with if it's going to be an at-market kind of a development.
Okay.
So before we go an awful lot further with this, I'd recommend that you figure out where this funding is going to come from for low-income type developments.
Okay.
And in that regard, what's the 125,000 going to be used for? What of these funds, what will you use the money for?
What I see vast majority is the civil and the actual infrastructure build, you know, so getting stuff to connect to the city utilities. Yeah. So we have an odd topographical stuff. So, you know, we're elevated off the street. So how do we make it connect to everything?
I'm having a trouble wrapping my mind around your idea of both selling the units, which is a great model, and retaining affordability. Because you have no mechanism in place to do that. And you're thinking about it, it seems to me. And as Dave was saying, if you get public financing to create an affordability kind of standard, it's going to come with strings that require you to maintain affordability for certain periods of time, depending on where you get it from.
Those can be maintained. You can like Habitat does with their program to maintain affordability. There's many ways to maintain affordability that these monies can require, and it can change hands and continue to be affordable.
But I think you need to think through that
Yeah.
a bit more, because it's nowhere visible how you're gonna, what mechanism you're gonna use to sustain affordability. And I think that's really important, because if people are gonna invest public funding in you, they're not gonna wanna just say, well, the first people who get it and just turn around and sell it for whatever price they want.
Right.
So you're gonna need a mechanism of some kind.
You can be deed restricted, but who's the watchdog?
Yeah.
I mean, we've had encountered land issues where everybody kind of forgot
Right.
what was in the deed, and all the
Right.
people that were part of that are long gone.
Right. Yeah, good points.
I will add that we do have reporting requirements on our funds for an annual update.
But our funds are a minuscule amount of what they're gonna need.
Right.
So you're gonna need something more.
Well, do you guys have any kind of projected timeline for actual doors being available?
At this point, I guess.
Yes, we would anticipate, Chris, probably, we'd like to get started late summer. We've got a lot of things in the works currently, but they're not completed. So of course, that's something that we're pushing on right now. We would like to see, the groundwork, we would expect that to be done through the summertime, and then we would move forward from there. It does, at this stage, I want to address the affordability. I think that what we've done is we are creating a community that has a variety of, if you look at your paperwork, there is a variety of costs, right? So we want to mix this up. We don't want to have one set number that somebody has to be at. So if we've got a couple of the apartments was one where we were going to be doing more of the affordability. So even for us to get that started, we're going to have the infrastructure component put together, and going into the houses. What we're wanting to do is really create something for the community that makes it better. And, people that are at the 60%, the people that are the 200% can live in the same space. And if we don't have something set up like that, it doesn't happen. You end up having areas where it's a lower income, and that's what it is. It's the 60% AMI. We want to mix that up, and we want to have it spread out. So it's not somebody feels that that's where they live and this is how it's going to be. But we want to be able to create opportunity. So I think there's ways that we can still flesh this out, but we have to get to the next step, which means, what are we building? Are we building a flat pack? Are we building a modular? Do we, how are we going to make that next step?
Well, thank you guys for coming. I hate to cut our conversation short. But it is 9:35 and we have.
We have a little bit of buffer. Let's take the question. If it's okay, can we take the questions that people have ready, and then we'll move on?
Nan?
Yeah,
What section of housing do you believe you'll start first? Which type of housing will you build first?
The meeting right now is most likely, change my mind tomorrow, but it's the smaller houses in ADU.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
most likely.
Sarah?
I just want to say thank you. I appreciate that you guys are looking at this with putting groups of mixed AMI throughout so that people can live together and build together and bring together. I mean, I think that that's huge for our community in terms of how do we lift the community up and help people build goals and aspire. You don't know what you don't know sometimes, and being able to be around people, multi-generational stuff, and being able to have people in there to kind of help aspire and kind of move forward and some of this stuff as well. So
Thank you, Sarah.
your projects it's been captivating to me to hear you guys talk and think on these levels. So I appreciate the thought process that you guys are putting into this.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
quick question. Okay, what is the cost of this next permit? Specifically, you said you had this next survey.
Right, so just the survey alone is a $9,000 expense to have our sites
That's the
marked
survey,
up.
but the
Okay,
the topographic is like.
Yeah, so
29,000.
29,000
So
was the,
40,000 gets you to the next step.
Right. On that one.
Well, it doesn't get us any groundwork, and that's really where the
Understandable.
expense is. So, we have, investigated the cost of those, and we've actually been quoted a $300,000 number. And we're still researching that to see, is that the final, but we're moving forward.
And sneaking in one more. Would you be open to working with a developer to get the apartments built?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, we want to see this move as quickly as possible. We've, it's been on on our minds certainly, and I think the Housing Commission's minds for at least a couple of years. And, as Sarah was saying, I think she was perfect in her description. We want to create something that isn't here right now. And we're looking at it at a different level that we can all, live together. We've had people, older folks that are looking for a cottage say, oh my gosh, what I could do is I could teach some art to some of the kids. And so we're trying to create all of these spaces that people can come together because we need each other more now than ever.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready, Parker?
We are ready.
All right, so I have the privilege of introducing the next application. The applicant and organization is Stephen Wade from Oregon Coast Housing Group. The project is Tillamook Bay Commons. This is a multi-family project looking to bring 72 units to the city of. The project request is $200,000. They have received Housing Production Solution funds before. In 2025, they received $100,000. Thank you.
Great. Good morning. Hello to the Housing Commission. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I have, unfortunately, some conflicts today. So I'm going to briefly present the project. We've presented this same project to you guys 2 other times. It's still basically the same. And then we also presented it and went over it with the Finance Committee about a month ago. So I'm just gonna share my screen and dive in here real quick. Give me 1 second as I'm on a Mac. Can everybody see that?
Not yet, Steve.
Not yet.
I have yours up and ready to go if you want, though.
Sure.
That was me, sorry.
We see it for the folks.
You don't see my slide presentation?
No.
No.
Steve, I have it here. Why don't I pull it up and I will present it and you can let me know into advance.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it. Thanks, Parker.
All right. Can you see it?
Parker, that is not the right deck. I'm so sorry.
Oh, apologies. Can you try to share yours again real quick and I will see if I can confirm it on my end.
Yes. You guys able to see that?
Yes. Great.
Great. Awesome. Sorry about the hiccup, guys. Macs don't like Microsoft Teams. So Tillamook Bay Commons, this is the project we have brought before you guys a few other times. Things are looking great. We're super excited. And I will just dive right in. So the Oregon Coast Housing Group, the nonprofit we formed last year, is going to be running this project, taking in all the financing for it. Our nonprofit is set up to build workforce and middle income housing throughout Tillamook, Clatsop, and Lincoln counties. This is our first project, and we are also working through the MERL project or MERL funding to get this done, which I will talk more about in a second. Quick project summary. It's the site next to Adventist Hospital. It's a little over 3 acres. We've got three-story residential walk-up buildings and a one-story leasing office. Total number of units, 72. We're parking this at 1.5 per unit, which is 109 spaces. We also are working through our brownfield remediation program, and we got some funding from Biz Oregon to help pay for that engineering plan, which is great. So that is currently in process. And once completed, the DEQ will be reviewing that. Here is satellite of the site. I'm sure everybody here knows where this is. Again, the site, that house currently is abandoned. Although I talked to Don yesterday, I guess there have been some squatters in there, so we need to get going here quickly. Overview of the site, you can see how the 3 buildings lay out. This is our site plan. We've got leasing office here in the background, some community gardens, playground. We've got a trail that goes along the back of the property. The buildings, all the units have cross circulation, meaning there's not windows just on one side, but 2 sides. This is a great feature that Clay's team has worked really hard on to provide even to the 1 bedrooms. So here's the overview I wanted to get to. So capital updates, the middle income revolving loan program, MERL, we are currently finalizing that, and huge thanks to Parker and everyone involved. That has been incredibly difficult, but everything now is basically in OHCS's hand. We're just waiting on one final document to go in front of the Board of County Commissioners. This will finalize our loan program for 1.575. We'll be the first to receive this program funding in the state of Oregon. We anticipate the funds to be delivered late February, most likely early March. But once they review everything and give us the thumbs up, then we are good to go forward with everything we need to use the funds for. We have 501c3 tax-exempt bond financing in place with our financing partners at Raymond James. This will cover approximately 80% of the capital stack. That's in progress, and basically they're more or less just waiting on us to get the MERL funds and start our process. We have applied for the agricultural tax credit program. I'll talk more about that in a minute. As far as the team and project progress, we are expanding our nonprofit board with some new members. On the project side, architectural, soil, and civil work is underway. We have our build partner, which is Eichler. They're reviewing and providing us early feasibility and pricing and kind of offering some value engineering. And they have a great project that they're doing right now up in Manzanita, that Ben Prairie project. So we're getting great, like, real-time pricing takeoffs. The timeline, we are going to push to have all of our work done and submit for permits in June. We hope to obtain permits in August, and that's when we will start construction. We plan to finish this project in Q4 of 2027. Current challenges, funding gap we have related to the prevailing wage increase, and that is because of the MERL funding. That adds a estimated 20 to 25% on our roughly 8 million for labor, which is about 1.6 to 2 million. I am working on the agricultural tax credit program, which could cover up to 1 million of this gap. That is in its early stages, but so far OHCS says it looks pretty good for us. They want to see this project succeed, and we would be putting aside 10 doors for this program, which locks those doors at 80% AMI. That leaves approximately $600,000 to $800,000 gap. This grant we're applying for, we applied for $200,000. This will help us to close this funding gap. We are working on also establishing a plan B, if you will, to address the sewer and infrastructure off-site work, which is estimated at about $800,000. We're working with the city and the county. Parker and I had a great call with Business Oregon yesterday to address that and go through their loan program, which would pay for the work up front and then would be paid back out of the project's net income over, probably 15 to 20 years. So that's kind of my overview here. I'm gonna flip back over and take questions. I realize that was pretty quick, but I think most of you we've met many times and talked about this project, and we're really close to going in the ground at this point and super excited. So I think maybe best just to open up to the floor if that's okay for questions.
You have a question online, Megan?
Yeah, it's not really a question. It's just I wanted on record that I have to recuse myself from voting on this one, just because I'm going to be reviewing the plans.
Thank you, Megan.
I have a question. I'm not sure who the director, Sarah or Parker or Steve. Have we tried, and timing is back, it usually takes a couple of years, but have we tried for any, going after any congressional appropriations money?
That just opened.
Right.
That opened this week, and I'm all over that. We'll be lobbying our congressional representation for some help.
Well, let me know that because they've been asking me for a project, so I'm trying to find a shovel-ready project for that. This would be a really good one.
Totally.
Yeah.
No,
We'll talk.
we'll definitely talk. I've been following that.
I was curious if there have been any, if any progress has been made communicating or looking into grant funding, since this is a nonprofit, it's eligible to receive grant funding, given where you're at. And I know you were working on, and I should just mention, I was on the board. I have stepped off this board, so I no longer have a conflict of interest. During one of our prior board meetings, we were looking over a list of potential grant funding sources, and do any of those look like they might bear any fruit?
Do you want me to take that? Parker and I had a call yesterday with Business Oregon. We did apply for a grant. They had a $10 million pool, and we did not get it because so many people applied. It was over 100 million requested dollars, and we were so close, but there are projects that needed it that are even more critical than ours. So that we were hoping we would have got the grant on that. We do have the Business Oregon loan program. I'm talking about the sewer stuff here, not closing the gap because of the prevailing wage stuff. I think there are options out there. I mean, it's not, there are ways we could, if we can't figure this out, we'll just have to defer on a lot of fees and just get this project done. But we don't want to do that. Our financing partners don't want that because they want people who are running these projects to be paid, not be paid because, they got to use their money for a sewer project or whatever. So I think the next step is Parker and I are going to follow up with some folks there at the city and then pivot back to Biz Oregon and see if we can get this loaning program in place related to that. On the prevailing wage side, there's nothing I can do. I spoke with the folks at regarding bully, that would need like a change in law. I do think going forward, I have mentioned to them, if folks are using this Merle program and they are operating as a nonprofit, it might be nice to have a carve out where the prevailing wage hit doesn't hit their projects. I understand if it's a for-profit, totally makes sense. But for us as a nonprofit, you know, we don't have investment partners we can bring in to absorb this hit. So, yeah.
So my question for the farm credit that you applied for, and you said you're allocating 10 doors for that.
Correct.
Are those specifically for ag workers?
Yes.
Have to be.
That's.
Yeah.
They have
But
to
that's
have,
what we can fix in
they have to
forestry.
be, it's kind of like, we have to report every year. We have through our pre-leasing efforts, we do have 10 doors. Honestly, it's probably more like 12, but I want to be conservative about this in case a couple drop out. But that is where we're at right now. And I'm working pretty diligently through the process with OHCS to get that program wrapped up.
And just to remind people, if people work for the creamery, the smoker, Werner's, any food producer.
Oyster beds.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of.
Yeah, or in our case, Zwald Trucking, they truck the milk to the creamery, Pelican Brewery. All those folks have sent us letters requesting doors from our project. So I'm probably undershooting it a bit, but the problem is like with the agricultural tax credit program, we refer to it as velvet handcuffs, right? Because you are now locked to a certain lower AMI rent on those doors. And for our project to pencil, going beyond like 10 doors at 80% AMI, that's kind of our threshold, you know, as far as rent reductions we can do to make this pencil. Right, and all the rest, the other 90% of the doors are closer to 100% AMI for this project.
Steve, this is Dave. I just realized that in our packet that we have this morning, we don't have some of your pro formas in that packet, and I've got some questions about the pro forma, but is this an appropriate time to talk about that, or?
This is the time, yes.
Okay, so maybe as an overview, as you know, and we all know so well, that to provide affordable housing and to get the numbers to pencil is just, you got to be a miracle worker to make that happen. And in your pro formas, I've got some questions there. Some of the numbers I didn't understand. But just as an overview, I guess what I'm seeing is that it doesn't really seem to pencil, particularly with your debt service coverage ratio that you need to have. And, you know, in a profit-making environment, oftentimes our investors come in with some deep pockets that, in the case of the project doesn't pencil, at least as it's ramping up, those partners can oftentimes contribute monies to make sure that the cash flows. In this case, when we have a nonprofit owner, it seems like we've got to make a provision there for a cash reserve in the event that it doesn't pencil initially. And I've got to go through with you the reasons why I don't think it's penciling right now. But in any event, the fact that this is going to be owned by a nonprofit that may not have access to any other funds, do we need to have a reserve for the ramp up or for the likelihood that this won't pencil immediately?
Well, the project does pencil. The issue with the OHCS performa that you're referring to doesn't give adequate fields for us to put in our 501c3 tax exempt bond financing structure. They just basically are like, how much are you financing? How many years? What's the rate? Where this is a much more complicated process, and our debt coverage ratio with our partners at Raymond James is about 1.25 in their underwriting. So we're totally fine there. They actually will provide a reserve too as part of their financing. The problem with the Merle spreadsheet that I went over with the finance committee is it doesn't give us a way to break out our structure, which is a 5 to 10 year interest only repayment up front, and then a refi probably in about 10 years. That actually makes the project pencil really well. That's the structure that we are doing.
So of course, the big issue is the permanent debt. That's going to be the most expensive debt to service, $17,500,000. Did I understand you to say that Raymond James has got some special terms of that? It's not just 6%, 30 years.
I'm not going to get into all the Raymond James terms on this call, and I'm happy to talk about that offline with you. but they bring the partners, they bring the money, and then we go through the process with our attorneys and OHCS to issue the bonds. And then I guess I'm not sure what I understand. What's the question exactly?
Well, I guess in my mind, we don't have the debt service coverage here to cover that kind of debt. And you said it, you do. And so I thought maybe your answer was, well, we've got some special terms from Raymond James. And if that's the case, it'd be good to know what those terms are.
I just outlined them. So the terms, the way the terms are broken out in the spreadsheet that you're referring to they're not, they didn't design that spreadsheet to show how 501c3 bonds and that debt service is paid back. The way they have it set up, it shows our debt service coverage ratio. I think it was like 1.11 or 1.12 is where it landed. But in reality, my partners are showing about a 1.26 with the structure, the repayment structure that we will be doing.
And is that something you can share with us? How you get to 1.26?
I don't have anything to share with you right now to pull up from Raymond James, but if that's something you want to talk about offline, we can definitely talk about it. And if you want to talk to them, that's fine.
Okay. All right, last question for you then. The 200,000 that you're requesting, how will that be used? Will that be used immediately, or is that going to be used to fill the gap here as we go forward?
Well, that gets applied to the gap and goes into our hard cost bucket construction.
Okay. And that would presumably be a check written to the developer and not to the nonprofit.
No, all monies go to the nonprofit. The developer does not take any money. The developer is a for-hire fee, just like the architect, civil, everything. The nonprofit runs this project. The nonprofit hires everybody. The nonprofit takes all the money. The nonprofit owns it, runs it for, at this point, we're looking at 50 years.
So 200,000 goes to the nonprofit that you're requesting from us.
Exactly. It would make that's the whole point of having a nonprofit. We don't have to pay taxes on it. It's a better bang for the buck, whereas in the past, you guys have granted us money to get to this point, but that went to a development company. We had to pay, a 40% tax hit on that, which is crazy. So no, all funds, Merle, CERTA, everything goes to the nonprofit and is managed by a trustee at the bank.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Yep, you bet.
We have about 5 minutes left. Is there anybody else with questions for Steve?
Oh, I didn't hear, the Raymond James was 80% when you ran through that at the beginning? Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Stephen, you have a lot of pre-leasing done on this property, right? Or
have
it's done?
letters of interest requesting doors from a number of employers. Yes. And that's, probably close to 67 to 70% of the project at this point. So we've kind of hit the pause button on that until we are going in the ground. And then I'm going to actually sit down and work with Parker. And we're going to reach back out to everybody who first responded first, confirm they still want those doors. And then we'll actually start doing actual leasing deposits, discussing master leases. If it's a for-profit institution, we cannot do a master lease because we're a nonprofit. That's an implied contract, and you can't do that. So in the case of somebody like the brewery or Tillamook Creamery, we would have to do, even though they've requested doors, and that's great, we would have to go through individuals there. They would have to apply individually to lease an apartment.
I just want to say, I read there was a concern about potentially overly the vacancy rate, a concern over it being too low. I don't think if that, a single one of those units is ever gonna be vacant, ever, based on its location, based on the affordability, based on, employer interest and need, it's not a concern to me.
I haven't heard anyone bring up a concern about vacancy. We do have a vacancy rate in our underwriting of, I believe it's 7%, which is pretty standard. Because you got to turn doors over and things like that. So, but there are so many businesses that I've discussed with some of you in the room, obviously Parker, that I have yet to reach out to. I think we're going to have a situation probably where we're going to have more folks wanting doors than we can actually provide. Any other questions about the project or the units? We're going to work with the local estuary to do all native plants on the site. It's going to be beautiful, drought resistant, etc. Trying to think if there's anything else I should mention. I guess my presentation was so quick. You guys are back on schedule.
Well, thank you, Steve, for coming today and presenting to us.
You bet. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time, and we're super excited to be spending a lot of time out there this summer and getting this project going. All right. Thanks, Parker.
Yeah, we have a break now. So we do have a 10-minute break scheduled. We will reconvene here at 10:10. So if you want to take a moment and use facilities, prepare if you want one of our upcoming presentations.
10:15, Parker.
Oh, pardon me, 10:15. 10:15.
Yeah.
Because so everyone online knows that we are the assembly. Lecture.
Like to see that on here, but so when I can talk and when you think so.
Yes.
I always am like.
I was afraid I didn't see you in the last time. So I get through the rest of the meeting.
Yeah. That was what last.
That was this time, or no, happy week.
I'm waiting for everyone to get me some. We'll be great and all that.
Then I'm nice to
You did it cool. Oh my God, it's nice in here.
My brain.
What is it you want?
Dave, just a heads up, we're about to be going.
Yeah. I think that
I'll just say, oh, it's super high. But it's also.
Yeah, makes certain brain, but stay on here. I have, I think I got the property 100%.
You got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I don't have a record. I'm just. You have snow. He's just the.
Yes.
I think you're visual.
We're all ready to go?
Yeah.
All right, well, great. We have a next presentation from Thompson Springs, and I wanted to introduce Julie Chick here, and she's just gonna be our warm body in the room representing Thompson Springs, and she has several people, a video and some people online. So I'm gonna turn it over to her to introduce the presenters.
So good morning. My name is Julie Chick. I live in Nehalem and have for a very long time. She's sharing with now. Look at the gray hair. It's real. And I got elected to be in the room and be here with you guys. So it's nice to see you. I think I know a lot of you. We are here again in front of you about Thompson Springs. It's a small development, 10 units in Nehalem. We are almost there, team. We are almost there. We are so close. We can see it. Kevin Shluka is on our board now and he wanted to be here today, but he is on vacation, so we let him be. He has sent a video to start with the overview, and then Shane Bowen, our developer, is online to answer all the really hard questions. If anybody wants to ask why, I got all day to talk to you about that. But these guys are the technical guys, so those questions go to them.
Dave, do you want to say hi and then I'll start the video presentation?
That sounds perfect. Hi, everyone. My name's Shane Boland. I work at a development and construction company helping out with the Thompson Springs project. And yeah, I can get into the nitty gritty as desired following this presentation. So thank you for having us. I'm really excited to be here.
Thank you for the opportunity to update you on our Thompson Springs project. My name is Kevin Shluka. And I'm, again, sorry, I'm not able to attend in person. I'm now a board member of Sammy's Place, the sponsoring organization behind this project. I'm recording this presentation in early January, and we will have broken ground by the time you're hearing this in early February. We couldn't be more excited. There are still challenges to navigate and budget gaps to fill, but it's clear these homes are being built and they will provide life-changing opportunities for many people who will come to call Thompson Springs home. The many people who have invested their time, energy, and resources into Thompson Springs have done so with a shared vision, creating a community that is authentically available and authentically attainable. Place where people of different abilities, incomes, ages, and life circumstances can live side by side, not separated by design or price, but integrated through it. As a reminder, we are developing 10 semi-detached homes on a 3-acre parcel just outside of the Nehalem city limits. These homes are intentionally priced and designed to fall within a level of attainability that encourages integration across social and economic lines. Thompson Springs is not about isolating populations or creating tiers of housing. It's about ensuring that people from different backgrounds can live in the same neighborhood and build a community together. We are grounding the project in the 7 principles of universal design, ensuring that these homes offer maximum usability for the widest possible range of people and abilities, without labeling or stigmatizing any particular unit. 1 in 4 Americans identifies as having a disability, yet only about 1 in 20 housing units is designed to accommodate disability. And even then, typically only for a narrow set of needs. Thompson Springs takes a very different approach. Rather than designing for a specific diagnosis or checklist, we begin by asking a more fundamental question. What should a home and a neighborhood reliably provide for any person who lives there? From there, we work to eliminate, mitigate, or minimize barriers to those fundamental needs, designing solutions that are robust, enduring, and forgiving. Then we applied that same approach to every single home. The result is a neighborhood where people can feel as comfortable in a neighbor's home as in their own, an experience that is rare and often entirely unattainable for many people living with disability. Katie and I often say of our Kingfisher project that everybody deserves to live at the beach. Thompson Springs extends that belief inland to the rugged, inspiring coast we call home. What that phrase can overlook, however, is that there is also a reciprocal gift to the broader community when we create housing that allows people to live safely, independently, and with dignity. When people are housed securely, they are better positioned to contribute their time, talents, and care back into the community that surrounds them. That is especially true for individuals and families experiencing intellectual and developmental disabilities. The Thompson Springs homes are particularly well suited for people with IDD, homes whose layouts, accessibility, and predictability support long-term stability and independence while remaining fully integrated within the larger neighborhood. In my own admittedly limited experience working and socializing with people and families experiencing IDD, I've learned profound lessons about perseverance, resilience, and unconditional love. Selfishly, I want the people who have taught me those lessons to have the same opportunity for home ownership that I've had. I want them living in my neighborhood. Thompson Springs is our effort to make that possible, not separately, but together. We are here today asking for an additional investment from the Housing Solution Funds in the amount of $200,000. This request addresses remaining infrastructure needs, particularly increasing water flow and water pressure for the project in the surrounding neighborhood. By connecting the Halem's main water line to the underperforming line beneath Thompson Road, we aim to increase hydrant capacity from roughly 200 gallons per minute to 5, 6, or even 7 times that amount. Residents will also benefit from a significant increase over the current 20 to 25 pounds of square inch per pounds of square inch of water pressure. We are also undertaking right-of-way improvements, widening the road, improving verges, and re-asphalting as much as 1/3 of the existing potholed roadway, and hopefully more. The final cost of this work is still coming into focus as we are pursuing infrastructure support from DEQ and Business Oregon, in-kind contributions from contractors, and even some good old-fashioned hat passing with neighbors. If we are fortunate enough to come in under budget and with the continued strength of Sammy's Place's fundraising efforts, every remaining dollar will go toward lowering the sales price of the homes that are most suitable for buyers with IDD, improving real attainability rather than symbolic affordability. People with IDD in Oregon face significant barriers to saving for homeownership. Traditional savings can jeopardize eligibility for essential benefits such as SSI, Medicaid, and SNAP, which often impose asset limits as low as $2,000. This creates a perverse incentive, saving even modestly can risk losing the very supports that make housing and healthcare possible. ABLE accounts are beginning to reverse this trend by allowing people with disabilities to save and invest without threatening benefit eligibility, but we still have a long way to go. Thompson Springs is working to leverage every available tool to bridge that gap and bring true home ownership within reach. And it's important to remember, Thompson Springs will deliver the dream of home ownership not just once, but again and again over the years. Home ownership has powerful ripple effects. It supports economic stability, higher earnings, and stronger educational outcomes for the children who get to live in these homes. It also strengthens communities. Homeowners are more likely to engage civically, volunteer, and invest socially in the places they live. I hope I've been able to share even a fraction of my excitement as these homes begin to take shape. My deep desire to see Thompson Springs fulfill its greatest potential as a truly integrated and attainable community. Thank you so much for your consideration, and thank you so much for the incredible work you do in support of housing in Tillamook County.
Like he was here. Questions for Kevin? Jane, do you want to take it from here?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I need to add anything to Kevin's presentation on why this project's important. I want to reiterate the $200,000 ask. And then I'm happy to kind of open up for questions and get into some discussion.
I have a question. So remind me again, is there deed restrictions on, like, how did you guys manage the deed restriction piece or making sure that like there's a longevity in terms of the home sale piece?
Yeah, so this project does have funding through OHCS's LIFT Home Ownership Program. As part of that, 8 of the 10 units are restricted to 80% AMI, and 2 of them are restricted at 120%. Kind of furthermore, the project will be managed in a community land trust that will be administered by Proud Ground, who's a community land trust partner. They will hold the deed covenant on the loan from LIFT for 20 years, and then a secondary 20 years when it gets extended, and they manage the resale, kind of ensuring the affordability stays in place. And they also own the liability of that loan being recalled should they not manage the affordability covenants. So there's both a practical piece there as well as some teeth from OHCS to kind of ensure it remains affordable.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Shane, question for you regarding cost. Sorry, my eyes aren't very good and the light's not great, but we're looking at a total cost of, is it 6.2 or 5.2?
Yeah, a little. To no one's surprise, it moves around a little bit month to month, but yeah, it's a little over 5.3 right now. I think notably on this project, we're spending almost half as much on the site work as we are on the vertical construction. So a huge part of this project's budget, and a lot of the reason we're here is that we are doing a huge amount of site work to extend a water line and build public improvement infrastructure there, to expand Thompson Road. There is on-site wetlands that we're mitigating. So I think admittedly this project has a relatively high cost per unit. And that's kind of a byproduct, I would say, of 3 main factors. One is kind of the huge amount of public good infrastructure work we're doing. The second is frankly kind of the difficulty and compounding cost of bringing a lot of different funding sources to bear on a project. And I think the third piece is just most projects are not designing this kind of level of fully universal designed product, and it just comes at a premium to provide service and home ownership opportunity to folks who usually aren't able to participate in this sort of housing. So that's my narrative for kind of why the costs are where they are. If you have some more specifics, I'm happy to get into the weeds of the cost, if that's helpful.
The pro forma lists some funding here, the LIFT funds, for example, OHCS and so on. Is most of that now in place? The other funding sources?
Yes. So the one caveat there is that we have some funds that get released on an annual basis, but are factored into our capital stack. So we have funds from CUNY that get released every year in thirds for a 3-year period. So those will be released incrementally as we move through our construction to help fund the vertical construction process. But we have, you know, them committed and the cash flow set up in such a way they'll come into play at the right time. But the funds listed in that pro forma are committed funds.
Okay. So this $5.3 million project will be funded basically with $3.7 million in governmental type funds and $1 million, $4 million, $5 million in sales price.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Would you mind explaining a bit further the land trust model and how it works with Proud Ground? Because this is our first land trust model. I really want everybody to understand how they work and what benefits there are.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not super intuitive. So if I'm glazing over anything, please do ask follow-up questions. So the fundamental way it works is that this project has fee simple lots for the units as well as a larger parent lot. The land is owned by Proud Ground. Currently, it's held by Sammy's Place. After we finish the construction and sale of the units, the land will get transferred to Proud Ground. Along with that land, they also receive the deed restricted covenants and the 0% interest loan from OHCS, which they kind of hold in perpetuity. They then lease back the land that is underneath each unit to the homeowner for $0. And the homeowner purchases the real property above the land. So you own your home and Proud Ground owns the land underneath your home with a $0 loan to you for the land. And as part of that, they also administer a variety of services for folks. They have first-time home buyer education. They help work to get home buyers set up to understand maintenance requirements for units and how to handle their insurance and all sorts of kind of first-time home buyer programming that might not be intuitive to folks. Going forward, they also help kind of keep the property intact, resolve conflicts in community, all sorts of things like that. When you go to resell your unit, there is a restriction on how much you can resell the unit for. This formula we will be planning to use is so at the time of when you buy your house, there'll be an appraised value, what the house is appraised at, and there'll be the price that you pay for it. So for example, let's say when you buy a house, you pay $100,000 for it, but the house appraises at $400,000. When you go to resell the home, you can resell it for 25% of the difference in the appraised value at time of purchase versus the appraised value at time of sale, more than you paid for it. So in this same case, if the appraised value when you sell it is $500,000, you could resell your home for $125,000. 25% of the difference more. That allows homeowners to capture some appreciation in addition to paying down kind of the principal and building wealth and equity there, but ensures it remains affordable going forward for the next homeowners again and again and again over time.
So my question with how I'm understanding you're gonna structure this, what's the HOA fee gonna be for the homeowners? Because if somebody else owns the land, generally it's set up like a condo, so you have an HOA fee for maintenance and upgrade. So what would that, do you have any idea on the projected cost that they would incur monthly on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really good question and a really complicated series of decisions, particularly for this project and a project in service to the IDD community. So most condos that are structured on fee simple lot ownership like we are have pretty low HOAs. Our project will have quite high HOAs because we're including all of the exterior building maintenance as well as systems maintenance into the condos so that folks on limited income and with mixed ability do not bear the responsibility of large homeownership costs. So I just want to set that. We're kind of setting up this COA to be one that is intentionally providing ease of ownership for adults with intellectual and developmental disability. Now I'm going to make sure I tell you the right assumed HOA costs. 1 second here. And I will say, so before I do that, the affordability sales prices are defined by the size of the HOA. So as the HOA costs go up, the sales price goes down to maintain the same payment, right? So even though there's a high HOA, that doesn't make the project less affordable to those who own it, just reduces the amount of money we can charge for the homes on sale, and therefore kind of increases the gap. So part of the gap funding in our project is allowing for a higher HOA to allow adults with disability to live in their homes without having to bear large maintenance one-time costs they couldn't afford. So that being said, the HOAs will be between $300 and $400 per month, which does allow for the maintenance of units.
Will that include any utilities like garbage or any of the like shared water or anything along those lines?
Those are, yeah, I can send over my very complicated kind of cost of ownership Excel document here. But no, those other utilities are outside of that. That's just for the kind of maintenance and repair costs.
And then I have one more quick question for you. So similar to the exterior maintenance. So while I understand like the deed restriction in terms of value, like the percentages that you're talking about for value with resale, looking down the road, like say 15 years down the road, somebody has to go in and do a larger remodel for whatever reason. Is there any flexibility in any of those changes to like talk value with things if somebody's having to go in and do a larger project on the inside for whatever reason in terms of updates?
In that it would increase the value of their home?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's a good question. And I think
that's the hard part with the, like, not being able to move the bar besides just like this percentage. One of the beauties of home ownership is sometimes people can go in and create a craft and be able to go in and make some of their upgrades to their property. And if people aren't able to actually capitalize on that, that's kind of like a missed opportunity for a community to be able to build wealth on their own.
100%. That is the kind of inherent trade-off in affordable home ownership, right? As if you create a lot of value for the current homeowner, you're inherently making it not affordable in perpetuity. So to directly answer your question, that would increase the appraised value of the home, and you would be able to capture 25% of the difference in that appraised value. So
okay, perfect.
Likely that wouldn't, you wouldn't be doing it for financial benefit, I think, if that's how you're thinking about the remodel, but those efforts wouldn't be without any value. But the trade-off we're making here, right, is creating stability, creating fixed costs. I think even in a rental affordable project, your rents go up over time. That's not true in the same way in home ownership. And so this is about stability, and you're still creating wealth and paying down your principal and creating some of that upside, but certainly it's not gonna quadruple in value over a 10-year period. So that's the trade-off. Absolutely. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, that Shane, that the limits on footprint are, you cannot go bigger and you cannot go up. So the upgrades on a 1,000-foot small unit may be very limited.
So my question is, what is your total funding gap? And if you were to get the MERL and CERTA funding, what impact would that have on closing the gap?
Yeah, thank you. So the CERTA funding comes in, I think, as you all know, on the backside, right? And so it's that is for us funding that's going to be used to make the homes more affordable, but doesn't really address any gap because you get it kind of at project completion. So we're really deeply excited about those funds, and they'll make the ultimate sales prices lower and make the homes more accessible. Merle, I don't have, and I think I talked to Parker about this yesterday. We're waiting on our final kind of assessed value to determine the size of that Merle subsidy. So I'm a little bit going on guesswork here of how that's going to effectively plug into our pro forma and get to the gap financing. But the Merle would reduce the gap, and a lot of the gap we're talking about here is around the, currently we are planning on 5 units set aside for adults with intellectual and developmental disability. The current price point we have does not allow those folks to afford these units. And so we have a project that is funded enough to move forward at a price point that is not low enough to serve the community we're aiming to serve. And so these funds will help make these units ultimately more affordable. And so I'd say that because the gap is less defined as it would be on maybe a rental project where, here's our rent, here's our sources and uses. We need $432,000 exactly to get to our debt cover ratio. Here we're trying to fundraise to bring the sales price down to meet the affordability levels we're targeting. And when I have my Merle number back in, I can tell you kind of exactly what that gap is.
We'll have that probably by Monday.
Okay, perfect.
So is this project, I mean, I know Proud Ground's a nonprofit. Is this a nonprofit project?
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But we'll kick it into prevailing.
What I was wondering.
This project is small enough that it's going to be probably likely be under the prevailing wage threshold for total funds.
That's 50 grand.
Was it?
Prevailing wage, anything over 50,000, if it goes prevailing.
And with the HUD money, it's actually $750,000 for small project exemption when using money from the source. So we anticipate to see a lot of people applying for $749,000 and et cetera.
And I just have a quick question about the, your unanticipated infrastructure upgrades. Is there any funding that you've been looking for to help fill that gap for those costs?
Yeah, absolutely. We have an application for Biz Oregon that I think the previous applicant talked to as well that I have not heard a hard no on yet, but I think hearing nothing probably means we didn't get those dollars. We are chasing down a number of different infrastructure funding programs and have not gotten any confirmation of award on any of them yet, but we're actively pursuing everything we can there.
Great. Are there any final questions?
Yes. Am I heard currently?
Can you please introduce yourselves?
I beg your pardon?
Can you please introduce yourself to the group? No, I'm trying to make sure. This period is for housing commissioners only to ask questions. You can ask questions during the public comment period at the end of the meeting today.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. I would like to make a comment and a question at the close of your discussion.
Great, we will remember that. Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody for showing up every month and doing what you do. Sometimes these seats are, they go unnoticed and we notice every one of you. So thank you. It's hard work. We appreciate it.
Thank you for coming today.
Seconding Julie's thanks. I really appreciate the time and the really thoughtful questions. It's clear you all are paying attention. So thank you for the effort. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for the opportunity to share our vision of the schoolyard funds.
Kevin, you're not up yet. Right. Well, moving right along, it's my privilege to introduce both Kevin Schluka again and Laura Mounts from the Schoolyard LLC project. This is the old Beaver School, and the project request for this project is $100,000 to the Housing Production Solutions Fund. This development team has had a successful housing fund application in 2002, I believe, was the Kingfisher round. 22, of course. 22. Yes, and so they have had a successful application in the past. And with that, I'll let Laura take it away, and then we'll get into Kevin's.
Thank you very much for making time to hear this project. It's my understanding that this is the first time this project has come before you officially. My name is Laura Mounts. I'm a project manager for Knotworks Construction. So I'm here because Kevin is out of country, or out of town anyway. So I'm going to let him start off, and then when he's done, I will do my best to answer any questions that you have following up.
On screen for me, sorry. You don't want to know the really nerdy stuff I listen to while I'm working. Hey, and that is correct. So here we go.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to share our vision for the Schoolyard Flats. My name is Kevin Schluka. I'm sorry that Katie and I can't be here today in person. However, our project manager from Knotworks Construction, Laura Mounts, has agreed to show up and answer any follow-up questions you may have after the presentation. This project is the redevelopment of the former Beaver Middle School campus into a mixed-use workforce housing community, one that transforms a long-abandoned public liability into a safe, thriving community asset. The site encompasses 4.66 acres with more than 32,000 square feet of existing covered space. The campus includes the former middle school building, a gymnasium, and a former bus barn. The school has been vacant for nearly 15 years and is registered as a brownfield site. Our goal is to bring this property back into productive use, restoring it as a place where people can live, work, and gather. We are the project sponsors, Katie Schluka and Kevin Schluka. Most recently, we developed the Kingfisher Apartments in Pacific City, which was completed in 2023, on time and under budget. That project is thriving today, exceeding its affordability goals and delivering meaningful benefits to tenants and the broader community. For the Schoolyard Flats, we intend to work with largely the same proven team, most notably Knotworks, our general contractor based in Otis, Oregon. Our architect is Gene Volante. Together, they recently completed the adaptive reuse of Lincoln City's former multiplex theater into the Lost 38, a beautiful multifamily housing complex and a very impressive conversion. So why does South Tillamook County need this project? Well, we continue to experience a critical shortage of affordable workforce housing. Beaver and surrounding rural communities rely heavily on workers in agriculture, forestry, aquaculture, and food production. Yet the lack of family-sized rental housing has led to overcrowding, to long commutes, to workforce instability for employers, and perhaps most concerning, the gradual loss of healthy families from the area. This project directly addresses multiple county and state priorities: rural workforce and affordable housing, agricultural workforce housing, adaptive reuse of underutilized public property. We are actively working with the Oregon Housing and Community Services to pursue agricultural workforce housing funding for approximately 2/3 of the homes planned on this site. Now, the property is a known brownfield site, but thanks to extensive investigation by the school district, by the previous owners, and our own team, the environmental conditions are well understood. We anticipate funding support from the DEQ to help offset remaining abatement costs. This effort will improve public health and safety, eliminate blight, and preserve currently undeveloped land for future needs. The project will deliver 32 residential units, approximately 20 units through the conversion of the existing school building, and an additional 12 units in a new standalone structure. We believe that rental rates serving households between 30% AMI and 85% AMI is the best fit for our community. The unit mix is intentionally designed for families. About 50% of them will be one-bedroom units, but the other half, 2- and 3-bedroom units. We aim to create a place where families can truly thrive. The schoolyard flats will be more than housing. We have a letter of intent from Tillamook County to establish a roughly 3,000 square foot public library branch in half the former gymnasium. We are also in active lease negotiations with the Tillamook YMCA to utilize the remaining half of the gym, the basketball and volleyball court you see here, for youth sports and recreational programming. To support small businesses and entrepreneurship, the former bus barn will be converted into rentable workspaces for tenant-operated businesses. Additionally, the site will include a public laundromat accessible to both tenants and the broader community. We are also coordinating with Sammy's Place, Marie Mills, and the Tillamook Family Counseling Center with the intent to designate 2 units for households that include individuals experiencing intellectual and developmental disabilities, while potentially integrating supportive work opportunities through the library and YMCA operations. Accessibility is a defining strength of this site. There's only about 4 feet of elevation change across the entire footprint, 4.66 acres. All of the existing buildings are single story. Of the 32 planned units, 26 will be type A or type B accessible units. This means nearly 75% of the homes will accommodate a wide range of physical needs, greatly increasing the likelihood that people with disabilities, seniors, and aging residents can remain housed locally. We are committed to universal design principles so residents feel comfortable not only in their own homes, but throughout the entire community. We also have assurances the Tillamook County Wave will serve the site directly. Now, the scale of this former school site allows for amenities rarely possible in rural multifamily housing. There will be playgrounds and picnic areas, private yards for many of the units, native landscaping designed to attract birds and support nature-focused play, grass fields and a potential perimeter fitness track, a community dog run that's already used informally by the neighbors. And while it may sound mundane, there is one feature I find particularly transformative: ample and spacious parking. Residents will be able to own multiple vehicles, trucks, or trailers without anxiety about where they'll go. This is something that can directly support financial mobility in rural communities. So where does the project stand today? We've completed substantial due diligence, purchased the property, and held 2 pre-application meetings with the Department of Community Development. We've identified funding pathways for environmental remediation, engaged our architect and much of our engineering team, completed a traffic impact assessment, a phase 1 environmental site assessment, and a groundwater impact report. This project is well matched to the site. It's well matched to the sponsors, to the county housing goals, and most importantly, it's well matched to Beaver in South Tillamook County. We are requesting $100,000 from the Housing Solutions Fund. These funds will support pre-development and holding costs, site planning, design, land use work, and infrastructure readiness. An investment from the Tillamook Housing Commission at this early stage will meaningfully increase our chance of success, helping to leverage state, federal, and private funding, and accelerate delivery of a project that serves a community too often overlooked. Thank you for your time and consideration, and for your continued commitment to housing solutions that truly meet the needs of all Tillamook County.
Well, I think Kevin summed it up very well where the project is at this point. Would be happy to take on any questions you might have for him or for me.
What would be your projected, or when would you hope to have doors available?
We ideally would like to see construction start in about 10 months. And then the construction timeframe, doors could be in, and I haven't talked to Kevin about this, I'm just talking from a construction standpoint. I would say 10 months after that. we're very early in the process. I think one thing I'd like to say is that, because Kevin is gathering, funding from various sources, we're early enough where we can adapt to revisions, changes that need to be made in terms of the layout of amenities, if that's a requirement of the funding.
I don't have a question. I'm really excited about this
It is
project.
exciting.
Yes, yeah, it got my gold star of approval, my little sheet here. I just think it's got just a lot of really important features that part of our county is sorely underserved in terms of appropriate housing, let alone affordable housing. I think the SoCo pride needs a lift, and this is a huge one for that. But my son played in that auxiliary gym when he was in Pee Wee basketball. It's a great gym. They need more gym space in the county. It's all good stuff.
Thank you for saying that.
I just want to understand, the Beaver School itself, the building itself is going to be remodeled and, okay.
I did have a question about
As a Beaver Grade School alumni, thank you. There's been a lot of kids that have been served in that community when that school shut down and even when it switched over to the middle school piece. It changed some of the landscape of small children being able to be served in their like small community that was way up in Maine, or, it just really changed the landscape. So being able to have a space that's safe and clean and healthy for the children and families to be able to be served in their communities. So I like the way that you guys are looking at being able to build the library and access to some of these services and being able to go in and put different spaces in there. It might be worthwhile to look and see if there's like health space, like health services, like a doctor's office room or something like that. And there that might also open up some different funding streams for you guys. So I don't know if this is a time to say that, but that might be a thing to look at.
I think this is the time to kind of make those kinds of.
Yeah, it might just be what you're describing is, Beaver is a space that has a huge aging population, and you're providing a home for people who can maybe downsize and get down closer to 101, where maybe they've lived up the river forever, but being able to be a little bit accessible.
It's really nicely located for all manner of community services.
Yeah.
One of the other things I think Kevin and Katie have had preliminary conversations about is potentially having it be an emergency shelter or act as an emergency shelter, because again, it's just really centrally located to that region.
In preliminary, do you have maybe clarification on wastewater capacity? That seems to be a concern. Or is that?
It's early design stage. The intent is to have an on-site system, and there's a number of types of systems that are under consideration. We have the luxury of a lot of space, especially underneath the BPA power lines, which have an easement on them. So that might be a good place to look, but it's super early. But the intent is to keep everything open.
I know from my conversations with Kevin that they are also looking into a vermiculture system to see if that is possible as a space and cost saving measure.
So I take it there's not like a big sewer waiting to be hooked up to.
No.
Direct Rafter probably.
Yeah, so that's been part of our application meetings.
Right.
With them, and Chris Keola, who is the environmental program manager for the county, has been involved in those conversations. So that was a big key element before the Chalupas moved forward with buying the property, is to make sure there were options available for management of wastewater.
I do have a question. Being that it is an old school building, has there been any assessments done as far as asbestos and other remediation that has to be done inside the building?
There was a phase 1 environmental analysis, I believe. And there are plans for having that remediated. That would be one of the early things that happens.
And my question by extension was, is it for sure cheaper to rehab that building versus just raising it and building a new structure?
That's a fair question, and it's one that we think about every time there's a contractor developer or going into an existing building. The loss was an example of that. The theater down in Lincoln City, we looked hard at what makes the most sense. And I'm not a structural engineer, so with all that caveat, I will say I've walked through it and it's in really good shape. Considering it's been empty for as long as it has been, there's very little water intrusion. There's very little kind of dilapidation going on in there. It smells a little musty, but it doesn't even, feel like an abandoned building for considering how long it's been empty. So early, everything that we've seen so far suggests that it's very much worth saving. Sarah?
So also part of that, the building division went through the building with Kevin and Katie Schluka. So our staff have already been in there as well.
And the YMCA is gonna partner with you to make
Kevin and
it,
Katie have been in conversations with them. There hasn't been anything, any agreement made specifically yet, but I know that I've been told that they're very interested, and it's just a matter of seeing, how they can make that work.
that's gonna make North County very jealous.
The $7.8 million of cost, for 32 units is a great per unit cost and under $250,000 a unit. Does that include renovation of the bus barn too?
It does not, I haven't, I would actually ask Kevin to confirm that. I don't believe that it does. I think that budget is just for the initial units that we're gonna be presenting as housing. Parker, you may have some insights on that.
That's my understanding as well, is that the bus barn is unclear at this point.
Well, the parking is a wonderful thing because that
It's usually
is a
the deal
huge
breaker.
constant in our considerations. There are problems with lack of parking.
Yes, well, and I think it's acknowledged, especially for the intended residents here. Agricultural, they're gonna have trucks. They're not gonna have small cars, so no compact, they're all gonna be full-size parking spaces and there will be multiple options for parking. Any other questions? I know it's early. I wish I had a few more specifics for you, but I think what I would like to say is that this is, having worked with Kevin and Katie on the Kingfisher project, this very much has their fingerprints, and I see it in Tommy's place or Sam's place too. They're creative members of our community, really trying to specifically address issues with these different projects. And each one has some common features, but they all are specific to their site. And I'm excited personally, as a South County resident, to see this come out of the ground. And we appreciate your consideration of the project.
I just want to say one thing that maybe hasn't been thought of, but I think of this as a public safety guy. It's right next door to the Beaver Fire Department. So this kind of demographic is the kind of people that will volunteer. So that's exciting too, to have that close, that proximity and the demographic there.
I just want to applaud, I know Kevin and Katie, this is not their first rodeo, and they've had a lot of learning over their past projects, but I just think it's pretty phenomenal that this project has moved this quickly and efficiently, and that the pieces and the partnerships are falling together the way that they are. I think that speaks a lot to the groundwork that was laid. I think that's something that people forget about, is these are difficult. Any development in a rural community with the environmental considerations and things that we have here and the demographic as far as income, these are really, really challenging things to do. And it might look like it's a miracle that it's all, rosy and it's all penciling out, but this didn't happen overnight. It's taken years to figure out what the recipe is to make it happen.
But I also think that it really speaks to like the wash, rinse, repeat of this, right?
Yeah.
So you guys have established what worked really well, and being able to do that and then repeat it and repeat it. I mean, that's the stuff that really makes really solid change in our community, is when developers are able to figure out like, hey, this worked. Oh, wait, let's do it again. Oh, let's do it again. So.
Well, and I'll say that there's just so much relationship capital involved in this project. And that's what gives the team the ability to move quicker than if we were just, bringing in random people from, here and there. There's a lot of trust and a lot of, good relationship behind.
I know a comment we often hear is that we wish we saw more projects coming to us from South County, and it's great to see one. It's unfortunate that the project's by the same person who was our last project from South County. So it also just speaks to, the amazing feat that Kingfisher was. So with that, we have pizza that has just arrived, so we're going to break for lunch.
So. We need to help set up so we can have
Yeah.
the housing commission members dig in first.
Yeah, so we're gonna set up pizza. Elizabeth just got here and she just is gonna start bringing it in with we're setting it up over in that back corner. There's going to be beverages over there as well. Housing commissioners, if you guys would get your food first, everyone else in the room, you're welcome to the meager leftovers. We will reconvene at this. Our next presentation will begin at 11:35, so if everybody can be back in the room at 11:30, right here and ready to go, that would be great. And otherwise, let me down if you need anything. For folks online, I'm gonna mute you, so you mute us, you don't have to listen to us. Online, can you hear us again? We're not gonna get going here. Another couple minutes while I get everything set up and people come back online. Yeah, and I might have said a few minutes early, so everyone's here on time. I've been with you guys for a few years now.
I was a rule follower.
She was a rule follower.
Prior, well,
I wanted another piece of pepperoni pizza, but I felt like I was, you know.
Michelle.
Well, now he said there's a couple minutes. You do you, girl.
What do you eat?
Hold on, that isn't actually sharing online.
Tomato.
So now it is. There we are.
Yeah, we actually think it's gonna be.
Thank you.
Still like it.
No, you know. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what? Nobody's sitting here.
I'm gonna take a full seat. No, it's fine. There's not a second. I just need a chair. And I'm gonna see if I can spread out and take the entire seat by the time it's done. It's very possible. And how many drinks do I need? Here, I've had 4 today.
I step over here a little more.
There you go. Well, sure.
I'm really-
Want to go for it?
Yeah, this really, it's hard to do both. Best I can do is probably this. Put them up on the side here. But then I think that's like,
After Ben's done, maybe.
yeah, I'll bring them back up when,
I'm on now.
Yeah, I'm not, okay, good. I
okay.
cannot see you, but,
Oh,
Yeah, we'll give it a
I
chance
have my
after your
camera
presentation.
on, but it's okay.
And then,
okay, it's fine.
Nobody hires me for my looks.
yeah, I can bring them up while you introduce yourself in that way when you start presenting.
Like 35,
Yeah,
so
give a quick chance.
it's fast. Got 2 more minutes.
You're making me look worse and worse as we go here. But now I haven't even opened.
Want to know, get out. Do that. I still.
It is 11:35. So Parker, do you want to give us the summary of the next project?
Yeah, one moment. I think, yeah, let's go.
Today we have Vishal with us today with At-Homes. And they are presenting a 4-unit cottage cluster in Aquila. Their project request, and this is a workforce housing project. The project request is $50,000 and this is their first time presenting.
Thanks for the pizza and the opportunity to present this. personal pet project for me. My name is Vishal. I'm here to talk about the Halo Workforce Housing Pilot. But first, let me tell you about why it matters to me. I grew up in a household full of architects, my dad, my sister, and my fiance. And now, at an early age, I learned that to see a project through two lenses, technical precision of construction and emotional power of design. This project is about cutting corners, but it's about smart, being strategic, and being resourceful. And before I share more about myself and my background, I have Ben online. He's a local, he's an investor partner to introduce himself.
Sure. I don't know that people would consider me a local anymore, but I did go to Nehalem grade school, and my parents or my mother was part of the group that founded Fire Mountain School. And then I went to Seaside High School. And, like Vishal, I have a background in technology, but, having grown up on a dairy farm, I dabble in everything, it turns out. And, I think middle income housing specifically, and just really housing for the people that live and work in Tillamook County, and I suppose Clatsop County, but really in any community, is sort of important to me. I have two brothers now. I had three brothers, but two brothers living in and around Nehalem, and my mother lives there. We actually own the house directly up the hill from this property, and then we own the house across this, or she owns the house across the street, where she provides low or mid-income housing to 2 units plus where she lives, and then we have the house up the hill from this, which has housed my brother, but will be entering the sort of same, mid-level or mid-income housing, once we clean that up. But really, I think it's just visiting the community over and over again and having family members trying to live there. I think it's so important to find, non-short-term housing, and instead middle income housing is really important. Vishal, do you want to go on and people can ask questions?
So thanks, Ben. So I've been working at big tech companies, and after 20 years of leading complex programs at Microsoft and such, I've taken those skills about design thinking, product execution, breaking down impossible problems that are facing a community, and applying them to one of the hardest challenges that we face, creating quality, affordable housing for working families. And our core belief is that middle income housing should not compromise on quality. That's why we are starting this strategic pilot, and I call it a pilot because our vision is to go beyond this.
I had a package.
Sorry, keep on.
Okay. And I'm doing this for people who make communities work, the teachers, the nurses, the professionals that deserve better. You have to point to.
I mean, the band for you. That's not working. I got the next one up.
Okay. So the problem is the missing middle right now. I think you're very well aware of that. Working families earn about 80%, 120% of AMI, and roughly about 48 to 78,000, and they are being priced out of new construction. These aren't abstract statistics, and they have to drive about 2 hours to come in and work in these communities. The teachers who shape our children's future, healthcare workers, and the local professionals who keep the communities running. Housing is isn't a shelter, it's a critical infrastructure. It's a critical infrastructure that makes a community, right? So to solve that problem, this one, got it. This is where my design thinking and product background comes into play, that you have a complex problem and you don't have to solve everything at once. We can break it down, create manageable system, and eliminate variables that cause at risk. So building a house from scratch costs a lot of money and takes a lot of time. I am partnering up with Lit Home Technology after working with a few other companies. Their solution I found is factory built for consistent quality. It's standardized and it's repeatable and it's very energy efficient. And this gives us an opportunity for lower risk, consistent quality and eliminate construction overrun risk. So that way we can define constraints and eliminate constraints and then make sure that we can produce and reproduce in a consistent manner. Next slide, please. So in this pilot project, we are thinking about a 4-unit cottage cluster. It's a unit mix of 2 bedrooms plus 2 1-bedroom. It's a lot size about 8,000 square foot. And we want to place 4 of them on this place. And our strategic goal is that we can create a proven sustainable affordability model that allows us to replicate. And then we can expand in the future to 10 to 20 cottage clusters. And I'm seeking county partnership model and also looking at public and private collaboration for funding as well. And we are targeting Q2 of 2026 to get this done. So it would take us about 6 months from getting down to getting done. We already have the land. We already purchased the land. And every design choice is made with replication in mind. Next slide. And our target AMI, let's talk about the numbers here because this is where our commitment to affordability becomes concrete. We are intentionally below the maximum. If you're looking at 1 bedroom, 80% is between one AMI 1170 to 1750. And we are targeting rent to be about 1,200. And for 2-bedroom units, we're targeting about 1,600. And this buffer is very critical. So we can absorb higher upfront costs of construction of the site work, maintain quality without rent creep, and commit to long-term affordability. Growing up, learning to do more with less taught me that constraints drive innovation. We are not here to compromise on quality, but we are trying to be smart about the delivery. Next slide, please. So now I'm talking about this specific project. And it brings back to me to the architectural building that I had, the design matters. We are thinking about, this is an actual rendering of what we plan to build in the cluster. It is aesthetically pleasing, environmentally friendly, and this will create dignity and pride and the community values that we are seeking for our working class community. This cluster community with contemporary design has a strong curb appeal, and we are using very quality products to with the latest technology. And again, affordable housing doesn't mean cheap housing; it means smart housing. What I've learned over the years, beautiful design is achievable by any budget if you need to know where to invest and where to be strategic. So the vision is, this rendering shows the vision. It's a very contemporary Pacific Northwest design with sustainable materials, clean lines, natural integration with the landscape. We are planning to use native plantation and design that respects both environment and the community. This happens when you combine construction knowledge and aesthetic sensibility. This is the pilot project site plan. Right now, it's a cluster of 4 units, 2 plus 2, and they can be laid based on the final site survey. So we can actually lay them out in different configurations. These units can maximize privacy, shared green spaces, parking, and every element is for both functionality and livability. So we have some common spaces here that people can utilize. Like I said, a good design should not compromise on quality. Everything that's laid out in here is really good quality. And this is, I would say, these are not just houses. their engineered systems where design layout is very functional and very modular as well. And using premium finishes throughout. And we can talk about this company is actually local to Oregon, and they're building it to the specs. You know, Oregon coast is very unforgiving. The units have to withstand high winds, heavy rains, and salt air. So factory construction gives us that envelope of ceiling that on-site construction can't match at the price point you're looking at. And again, system based on what we get from the site plans and stuff, the foundation can be laid out differently, and there are various ways to put them on the ground. And that takes me to the next part. The interesting part is like financial feasibility through county partnerships. So it shows us the buckets of different fundings we are looking at. So right now we secured about $530K from our pockets to do this. The total cost of the construction and development would be about $1.4 million. And based on our calculations and our net operating income comes to about $44,000 at a cap rate of 3.4%, which reflects our mission-driven approach. We are not maximizing for profit. We are, but we want to make sure the impact is financially stable and financially sustainable. And this funding that we are seeking from the county is about $80,000. That will get us some credibility and put in the door, as well as we can utilize precise feasibility and getting the permits and get the buy-in from the county, local city stuff. So the last part of that, my presentation is about phase one. We want to do a pilot. Phase two, we want to expand in the next couple of years. And long-term vision would be countywide model and beyond. And yeah, well, I think that's all I had for my presentation. We are mission driven and we want to make it scalable, and we have local commitment and grew up in that neighborhood and wants to see it thrive. And now I'm open to questions.
What's the square footage on the units?
Oh, they are actually, on this slide. When do you remember the square footage of the unit?
Unfortunately, I'm sort of on the screen there, so it's hard for me to check. We do have that. Let me see if I can find that. It is in, I actually think it's visible in one of those. It is not large square footage, but it isn't tiny either.
It was about, I think, 10 by 12.
No.
Oh, no, sorry.
I think it's 15 feet across. So because they're 15 feet across with the overhang, so I think it is 12 feet across, but I'm looking for.
I have this specification, so.
I know you have the presentation up and I have my screen. Here we go.
Yeah, for some reason, this one didn't have the dimensions on it. I can get back to you.
Well, are these constructed fully and then brought, and then is it a wrap slab and then they scoot it off and onto the slab?
Yes.
Okay, so it can only be a certain dimension, right?
Yeah, but
I think it's
the layout is very
small. I
modern
think
and
it's
very.
I think it's 40 by 12.
That
So
sounds
I can
right.
do the math. It might be
What's the-
45. I can't.
Bedroom. The two bedroom is 14 by 50, 700 square feet.
700 square feet, yeah.
There it is. Okay.
What's the one?
One bedroom says 38 by 14. The
Yeah.
exterior is 532. The interior is 425 square feet.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And
So
looking at the
they're not
size,
large.
what we want to do on it, I think this is, we can maximize the footprint of the site with maximum space that living space we can give for medium housing. For a family of 2+.
Can you explain or tell me a little bit about the lit home technology? I know that there's a website about it, but what is their prefabrication or what is it?
So Lit Home started around a model to provide housing for the unhoused. So they designed these originally for the, you see those white prefab homes in Portland if you drive around, not homes, but really on site. And this is the next stage of their model, essentially. I think they really have two sort of next stages, one of which is disaster. So providing homes during disasters. And then the other is really high-end prefab homes. I actually probably am the only one in the room who was, or on this call, that was in a mobile home when the windows blew out and the roof came off and the floor buckled. That was in, I think, 1979-ish on the Miami Foley Road. And as a kindergartner, I still remember that rather, well, let's just say it's imprinted for the rest of my life. And, these are not we did actually tour a mobile home or a manufactured housing facility and look at that construction. The financials are much more interesting there, but living in coastal weather, our decision was to go for a much higher end piece of construction. And it can be on several types of foundations. Our plan here is to put it on a solid foundation. We haven't had full engineering and site planning done, so it could be on a slab or it could be on an actual foundation. Either one is supported by the construction.
So it could be ADA, because those all look,
Yes.
there are a lot of steps involved on
Yes.
pictures.
Yes, it can be
it could be.
ADA. That's a site plan and construction detail.
What's your projected timeline?
It is a hill though. So my real feeling about that is so actually before we did consider making the lowest one of those, the one on the closest to 12th Street, ADA for my brother, who lived in the house up above. He's since passed away, but it is definitely doable. I think for somebody that is confined to a wheelchair, it would be harder for us to build I would prefer to have them in the lower one. It's a lot of work to go up a hill every day, I think is my take. It can be done, but it's less friendly in that case, I think.
It's like about 10 feet gradient. Yeah, so that's why we stacked them.
So they get more light that way too. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. You have a question?
What would be your projected time frame for having doors available?
I think we're targeting before the end of the year. We haven't gone into, that. I think really permitting and scheduling is really going to cause more of that. We have a large grant request in there that we're looking for. Our feelings actually, we are in a position to move forward without huge grants. But that is partially what makes it more repeatable for us. We aren't looking to do 4 units. We are looking to do a 4-unit installation. And, there's a lot more than just construction that goes into having, cottage clusters that you're renting. There's property management, and there's a significant infrastructure around that that's required. So part of it is building a repeatable process for, site planning, construction, but also long-term management is not an insignificant challenge.
I see that the cost per unit on our front page, the project evaluation says 110,000, but the pro forma lists 382. I'm stoked about 110. I want to know if that's possible and if that's what's happening. I'm making clarity, both for us and myself.
Yeah, so I think the unit cost is about 110, but the total construction cost of putting the unit in with everything else comes down to that.
So the purchase price per unit is 110,000.
So I think that's the 1 bedroom is 110. But
that's the 1 bedroom.
Yeah,
And then
It doesn't.
And we are
include the
partnering up. As we scale it, we may be able to get like at a better price point as well. So they are very eager to partner with us, because we have a vision to not just stop at 4, but we build bigger clusters in the future.
We also have a fairly high site prep number in there as well right now that we hope to beat, but we've put a square footage based number in right now. I saw a question there from Nan.
Yeah, and there's enough room on the property to add more units?
Not in this property.
No,
on
not this property.
We maximize this property, yeah.
Okay.
If I recall, you guys do have a site identified for the future though, as the property you own, right?
We do have other sites that are possibilities. This one has been, so we sold a lot in Falcon Cove, or my mother did, and she ended up buying the house above this, and what came, and then this lot sort of came with that as a slight addition. We purchased that from her to start with, because it's in the family. It made it very straightforward for us to essentially, build a pilot.
So just to make sure we're clear, this $110,000 a unit, now the total project cost is about $1.5 million, $1.6 million.
Yeah, we put in all the contingencies in place right now, so this is the maximum, but we may be able to bring the price down as we get into the more feasibility aspect of the stage. So we already have procured the land, and that price includes the land price. And
So just rough numbers, $1.6 million divided by 4 units is $400,000 a unit.
yeah,
So the $110,000 a unit that you have on your application here, what does that refer to?
that is the actual cost of the unit from Lit Technologies. But the total cost of putting it on the site is higher than that, because we have to do foundational work and
Sure.
there's site work and stuff. So pro forma has a breakdown for
Right,
that.
so in your pro forma that I saw earlier, we had $750,000 for the manufactured module fabrication. $750,000.
Yeah, but right now we're negotiating the price on that as well. And so they are going to talk about, based on this pilot project, and that's the whole part of this being a pilot, is figure out what partnership we can foster with them. They're also looking for good partners. So we may be able to, on bulk price purchase, there are some incentives that we may be able to leverage and bring the price down.
I'm kind of confused by these numbers, but it's good they're coming down, I guess.
Yeah, they are pretty willing to work with us right now.
Well, to clarify, the number that he gave, is that delivered or is that?
No, the
It's
110
yeah, that-
is
yeah.
not delivered.
Yeah, that's just the unit price.
No, so not the 110, but the 700 and something.
Oh, yes.
And that's
Yeah.
delivered.
That's the delivered, because that is very expensive process and there is a lot. And does that, are they paying the permitting fees or are you paying for those?
Oh, we'll have to do it.
Okay. Because sometimes in these, I have experience, we bought one of these with our son did. And, that was something that you could negotiate with them, is who was going to cover that and do the legwork on it and all of that stuff, so.
Yeah, they're very willing to work with us, and that's why we are calling this a pilot. And we'll solidify these numbers